afternoon, good evening, good morning, folks. This is your man always, George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, it's 2025. Oh, I can't believe it. Another new year. I mean, seems like when you get a new year, it kind of slows a little bit here, but then we hit the holidays, it kind of just goes by. We hit Christmas and Thanksgiving and those holidays. See, that goes fast. But when you hit the first of the year, it's kind of slow. So, it's going to be slow. And especially just for some of us who are still employed, it's another month or so. It's tax time. So I miss those days. I do. So, hey, folks, this is my first interview for the new year. And we have here the lovely lady. She just competed about a couple months ago at the Ben Weider Teen and Collegiate not Ben Weider Natural, I want to say Teen Collegiate show. She has been competing for quite some time. She's also has competed as the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic. And, that is, as you know, my stance on Arnold. Even though it was a great show, but, the last couple of years kind of, to me, is just as a content maker, especially on women in bodybuilding and in the other divisions, it kind of lost its shine. We have the lovely Mrs. Ivy Pro Physique competitor, Gllian Ward. And thank you, ma'am, for coming and spending time with us.
Thank you, George, for having me. I'm honored.
Well, the honor's mine, man. Honor's mine, So, and she's you're in my home state of North Carolina, right?
I am. Coastal.
Yeah. Are you North Carolina born and bred, or is you a transplant?
No, I am New York City born and bred.
New York City.
Yes.
Yeah, y'all up there in New York City. I don't know. Y'all can't look each other eye to eye walking down the street. That's how it is out here. But it's great. It's a great city. The city's so nice and near twice. So, ma'am, is a question I ask you, ladies. What got you started in this sport, as I call it, muscle and masculinity? Please share.
So, competitive bodybuilding. What I have been interested in lifting weights and being strong and being muscular my entire life. It is something that I've known. I started gymnastics when I was about 2.5 years old, and I was very interested in physical fitness and kind of pushing the boundaries and seeing what my body was capable of. But actual bodybuilding for me came much later in life. So initially, I was a gymnast and a track and field athlete. Years later, as an adult, I found CrossFit, which led me into powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, strongman. And from there, I ended up getting into bodybuilding. So what happened was I was a very competitive powerlifter, and he is now my ex-husband, but my then husband went on a deployment in 2013, and I lost my powerlifting partner, like the person in the gym that would have been my spotter, essentially. And powerlifting is a hard thing to do on your own. So at the time, there was a woman that came into my gym that wanted to learn the barbell lifts to help her bodybuilding career. So she started talking to me, and she's like, they just started this women's physique thing. And at the time, Dana Lynn Bailey was the first women's physique competitor. And I went and looked at a bunch of stuff about her, and I was very, very inspired. So she recommended that I dip a toe and do this new category of the women's physique division. And I thought that I would try to do one show kind of as a bucket list thing, and it would allow me to continue to train when I didn't rely on a spotter. So I got into bodybuilding essentially kind of by accident. And I want to say, my first show was in April of 2014. So that was a North Carolina state show. So this happened in late 2013. So the fall of 2013 is when I got into competitive bodybuilding.
That's a good story, because a lot of ladies who got in sport because a good number, like yourself, have athletic backgrounds, track and field, basketball, gymnastics, cheerleading, I think that's just a natural progression for athletes, especially, and doing powerlifting. I've interviewed quite a few ladies who come from that sport and transition to bodybuilding, because sometimes powerlifting really get a lot of stress on your body, the heavy lifting all the time. And you want to do something that still involves lifting, but not as much as when you were in powerlifting. Here we are here. Yeah.
I did follow bodybuilding even though I wasn't competing in it. And I followed bodybuilding my whole life. So when I was a child, we had things like Body Shaping on ESPN and by bodybuilding magazines. And I did know who Miss Olympia was. And I was a huge fan of Rachel McLish, of Corey Everson at the time, Carla Dunlap. So some of the early Linda Murray. So I did follow it kind of as a fan, and I was very, very interested in lifting weights and building muscle. But like I said, as a competitor, I got into it much later. But bodybuilding is something that I have followed since childhood.
Yeah. Me and a friend of mine, we just had a discussion about Rick McLeish and Corey Everson. Just this past, it was on New Year's Eve. We talked about it. Had a little New Year's Eve special. We talked about those two women, how they were really prime examples that really set the standard for women's bodybuilding back in the day. You know, they had looks. They also crossed over into the mainstream doing movies and TV. You know, those are, I would say, top tier ladies. And also Carla Dunlap. She was an amazing lady, the first Black woman to be Miss Olympia during her time. You know, when so many like Linda Murray. You know, that's the top. You know, just one person I'm a fan of. I'm always been a fan of her. It's Andrea Shaw. She's just amazing. I think she brings a new level to the division. It's like anything, it's always evolving as a sport goes on over time.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we got a comment from my man Warrior. Says, Jillian Ward. I remember her from the 2016 Miss International Classic back when they had women's physique, and she was fantastic. My man Warrior also says, I heard that you were teary-eyed and emotional making it into the top 10, which was heartwarming for you. So, like I said, you know, as you started, what was that first show like for you when you first got into bodybuilding?
So bodybuilding has been a roller coaster for me. So I did my first show, which is the state show, in April of 2014, and I won my division in the overall. From there, so that was April of 2014, I went to the Junior USAs a couple of months later, and I think I could be wrong, somebody may correct me, I either came in 6th or 8th, and I was devastated. For whatever reason, I thought I was going to roll into the Junior USAs and get my pro card. So anyhow, at the end of the summer, I ended up getting my pro card at North Americans in 2014. So again, first show was April of 2014, and then North Americans is probably Labor Day weekend. So about 6 months later, I went pro. So a very fast trajectory. And again, I earned my pro card relatively quickly, but I had already, in terms of the amount of time I had spent lifting weights and in the gym, by that time I was, 35 years old. And like I said, I started gymnastics at the age of 2 and never stopped. Coming off of North Americans, I decided to do my pro debut immediately, which was probably a mistake. And I did a very, very small pro show called maybe it was the Ultimate Warrior, something out in California, like less than 2 months after going pro. And I came in dead last. So my very, very first pro show, I came in dead last, which I'm laughing about now. And it was such a valuable experience. And I had a really, really great time in it. Like I can't say it even without laughing. So come in last at my pro show. 2015, did not compete again for a while after that, went back to the time that I spent during bodybuilding. It's fair to say that I did not compete in bodybuilding alone. So even when I entered bodybuilding, I was still competing in powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, and strongman during those years. So the 2015 season, I did not compete in bodybuilding at all, and wasn't sure that I would compete again or would not compete again, as it was not necessarily my primary sport. I remember I had just come in last place, but they announced for 2016 that they were going to take 50 women at the Arnold, 50 pros, to compete in women's physique. And I said, here's an opportunity. And I remember there was an application of some sort. I want to say there was an application. It was not qualification at the time. And I decided if I got accepted into the Arnold, that I was going to compete at the Arnold. So I got accepted to compete at the 2016 Arnold. And that was my next pro show after having come in last place at the one before it. So to place in the top 10 and make it to finals, which the comment that we just got before absolutely blew my mind. I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life. So I came in sixth place at the 2016 Arnold. And from there, I was back in bodybuilding.
That's pretty good. I know a lot of competitors who they naturally want to hit the ground running when they get into bodybuilding. And especially you're a brand new competitor, you want to test see how you do against some of the more established competitors. But then most will like take like a year or two off because you want to make those gains. Because like I said, it's a tough sport. And you have to compete with some competitors that are competing for years and who are like top level competitors.
And it's a sport that has always eluded me in this sense that, I could come off a great placing. I came off the 2016 Arnold on such a high, having placed sixth. And I'm like, I'm going to get an Olympia qualification this year. And coming off the Arnold, I competed in a couple of other pro shows in the same year. Did fairly well, top 10 in them, but never got an Olympia qualification. And to me, what was so challenging about that sport was I had come from sports that were, very, very objective, where it's like, this is what you need to win. If you are going to lift at a powerlifting meet, you need to squat 500, 400 pounds to win, or you need to do this. Or if you're in a track meet, this is the time that you need to run your 400-meter hurdles. And bodybuilding was so different for me. And that's something that I've always wrestled with. And I think my early years of bodybuilding versus the comeback that I made this past fall was that there was an amount of me that was like, what are the judges looking for? What do I need? What is a package that the judges want to see? And over time, I think what I've gotten to with my comeback this past year is recognizing that I cannot be concerned about it. And my shift in focus is what is going to make me proud? What do I want to bring to the stage? And how I feel about it now is so much less related to the placing. I'm never going to be a top bodybuilder. And that is something I'm not going to say it was never a dream of mine. At this point in life, it's not. And the reason why is that if you are going to be the best at the world in something, that needs to 100% be your priority. For me, at this point in life where I am now, that is not my top priority. But there was a time that it was. But again, the real shift for me is coming from recognizing that it is such a subjective sport. And the only thing that I can control is what I bring. And I need to stop looking at what I think other people expect of me.
Yeah, I'd say I agree because you know what? Everybody has a different look. Not everybody's going to be the Danley Baileys or this or that competitor. Not everybody's going to always have the standard. I mean, it's like I said, it has evolved over time. You look at the women now to the women back then, to the Rachel Regulation and Corey Eversons, And one thing I think the big thing is if you heard the new fitball thing coming up, I'm on the fence on that. I'm not on the fence. I'm off the fence. I'm over the fence. I think the problem is that when you have an issue with something, instead of trying to slap something on top of it, it's better to solve the problems within and fix them. So, it's tough. Oh, we have here some people coming again. We have my man here. Shout out to my man, Balls Deep. Shout out to him. He says, Merry New Year. Thank you, brother. He says, also, he says, he says, good afternoon, gorgeous. He is a fan. Also, he says, peace and blessings to the chat. Thank you, brother. Also, he says, smash that like button. I appreciate that. And his moniker, Chicago, he goes in Chicago in here. And also, he says, it's another game. He says, Schmo gang, 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 gang. So after your last competition, and that was in 2017, why such the long time off? Because you pretty much almost gone for like 7 years.
That is a great question. So we're going to get a little bit deep with some of that here. So 2017, my last competition was the New York Pro. I did all right. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I want to say maybe either came in 10th or 12th. It was a very, very large field. At the time, I did not know that I was stepping away from bodybuilding. So my personal life, I mentioned an ex-husband earlier, was kind of in shambles at the time. And I realized that I was finding an outlet in bodybuilding, in other sports, in order to run away from my life. So I wasn't necessarily in a healthy place. I was, you know, bodybuilding means something, it has different meanings to all of us. And I was kind of at the time looking to it to not deal with other things in life. So at the time, I owned and operated a gym in Eastern North Carolina, which was a CrossFit affiliate and a black iron gym. So we taught lifting, powerlifting, Olympic lifting. And I wasn't focused on that the way that I should be. And I was certainly not focused on addressing some of the issues in my personal life. So the 2017 New York Pro, I was just before my 40th birthday. So it was a couple of months before. And in the 2 years leading up to that, I kind of went on a tear of competing in a ridiculous amount of things. Like I said, spanning sports in the 2016, 2017 era, I was competing in 5 different sports simultaneously. I set the world record for push-ups in late 2016. And I really needed to take a step back and say, what am I doing? I have a marriage that's crumbling and falling apart, that's not in a good place. I am not being who I want to be in my business. And after the New York Pro, I decided to take a step back and deal with the things kind of in my personal life. And for a while, bodybuilding was not a priority. And I did not, like I said, at the time, I didn't know that a few months or a year was going to turn into the next 7 years. But I knew there were other things that I wanted to get whole and get in order. And that's kind of that's what I worked on. And there were tons of changes in my life at that time. I went through a divorce. I ended up selling my gym. I met the man of my dreams, and we started a life together. I moved to Vermont. He got orders to Norwich University as the professor of naval science and the commanding officer of the Naval ROTC. We moved up to, rural Vermont. COVID happened. And I've always trained the same way, but I found that my desire to compete was not the same. So, and I've wanted to compete my whole life. And I feel like for many years, I looked to the stage for me. Again, this is not for everybody, but as a way to get attention. And I was not getting that attention previously at home. So, that was something that brought me, I want to say joy, but it brought me a way to kind of like to be seen. And in the life that I've had over the last 7 years, I had, to be honest, so much fulfillment at home and being seen by my husband. And I didn't need those things anymore. So what happened was what turned out as stepping away for a short period of time kind of turned into 7 years. And I'm not sure that I realized that I could compete in a healthy way. So I would say that my relationship with competition was somewhat unhealthy. Again, starting gymnastics at 2.5 years old, being a competitive athlete most of my life, it took a huge chunk for it was a huge part of me and it was my priority. And there were so many other things that I didn't work on because of it. So I think I didn't recognize until I decided to come back and over the past year that I was capable of being a good wife, being a good person, being a good friend, contributing to the community, having a successful business, and being a competitor. I thought one came at the expense of another. So part of the reason I chose to come back and give it a try this past year is I wanted to see, can I fill these other roles in my life and be successful and compete at the same time?
You know, with this bodybuilding, there's a lot of work to it, and most people don't understand the aspects of it. And then also, you're going through what you were going through, with your ex-husband and all the stuff that's going on in your life. It's good to take that step back because it's always going to be there. It's not going with any place anytime soon. And when you're ready, I know ladies who walked away and they spent even 10 years. I recently saw a lady who hadn't competed in almost 20 years, came back, got a pro card. I know ladies who a lady who I'm friend of, her name is Melanie Horton. Melanie competed also. She was also at the Almost Classic years ago. She actually earned a pro card as a women's bodybuilder in the 90s, made a debut at the 99 Miss Olympia, then stepped back, had her kids, got married, and then she came back compete. And she's a great lady. I mean, especially for a woman for her age. still have passion for bodybuilding. Here we have a comment from a man, Warrior 2000, shout to Warrior. He says, I wish Gllian would come back and compete on the Miss Olympia stage this year. Maybe we might get her to. Also, he said Gllian is a classy lady, like her style. See, I'm telling you, Gllian, when I get a girl in here, especially a new girl, these guys get excited. It's like so. After that time, you said you married your husband. What's your husband's name? And how long y'all been together?
Scott Conway, going a little over 6 years.
Mm-hmm. And he was in the service, like say he was Navy commander?
Marine Corps. So
Marine
Colonel.
Corps?
Yeah,
Colonel.
we just
Well,
hired. So we are having another adjustment. We moved back to North Carolina, but I do want to come back to the bodybuilding. Just one more thing to add about what I was previously saying. In bodybuilding, for me, part of the reason that I left it was that I allowed the result of my placing to determine my self-worth, and I knew that wasn't good for me. So what was happening is if I didn't place well, I did not that defined the entire experience for me, not realizing of all of the months and years of hard work that I put in. But if I did not get the placing I wanted, it just all felt like it was for nothing. So I knew that in order to come back, I had to work on shaping that completely differently this time and have it be completely process oriented and about the journey and the work and not about the result. But that was my little ramble. We could go back to to the other stuff.
That's all right. Like I said, this is about you and your story, and and like I said, so much that's involved in bodybuilding. Like doing this content, I get to learn stuff when I get to talk to you ladies. Everybody has a different path how to get to it, and I think most especially they feel like the weight, the gyms, the working out, the training is something that helps when they're going through times of peril or burdens. It's just someplace to go and use that weight to work that out. I think everybody has whatever issue they have they went through, and then sometimes they come back around to the sport when they feel they're ready. It's a process, and once you figure out understand the process, it's just anybody. So folks, while we got here, the lovely, and also to your husband, I want to say to him, I don't say thank you for your service. I say, as a citizen, I appreciate the sacrifice he had made for this country. That's a sacrifice that when they serve our country. I have, my niece and my nephew were in the Army, and anybody who serves our U.S. military, thank yous are never enough, and you are making sacrifice not only your life and your time and your freedoms for us. So thank you is never enough.
And that actually brings me to another point about that is when you are married to somebody in the military, you often move, and bodybuilding is something that you could take with you wherever you go. Like let's say you're powerlifting or something else and you have a military move, you may lose your gym partners. Like to me, I am just going to have full disclosure here. Yes, I am married to a retired Marine. My ex-husband is also a retired Marine. So I have been around military life for a long time. But one of the appeals of bodybuilding, like I said, is it's something that you could take with you wherever you go. And there's so many changing things as a military spouse. You're going to change jobs and you're going to change friends and you're going to change everything about your environment. And I thought that bodybuilding was a beautiful thing in the sense that it just goes where you go.
Mm-hmm. So you love jarheads.
Yes, you could say that.
Yeah. So folks, while we got it here, we're going to, if you want to follow her links are in the description of this live stream. She's on YouTube. So, we both definitely need more women in the sport of bodybuilding to talk about their stories in YouTube. The algorithms are not as good for women's bodybuilding because if you're not some prissy little, tart little influencer, you're not getting much attention. But this is why my channel is about you ladies, and y'all deserve that attention. So if you want to follow her, be genuine in support. And this is no offense to you, Jimmy. I do this as a disclaimer to anybody out there. Guys, no D pics. Her husband is a Marine, ex-Marine. I don't want to hear somebody getting gutted from the rooter to the tutor. I mean, this is a nice lady. Guys, come on. Yeah, come on. Get right. So we're going to jump in here into social media for a bit. And here she is. You dressed as Mrs. Claus, weightlifting. What do when you training, what's the things you feel like you work on the most when you're working out?
What do I work on the most when I'm working out?
Yeah.
Deriving joy. I think I have been training. I think, again, I'm approaching 50 now. I'm 47 going on 48, and I have trained consistently for over 45 years. Joy, the feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction, that training is so therapeutic for me. Like, this is going to sound crazy. Even though I am a bodybuilder, training for me has never been about what I look like. It is always about what I feel like, and it's a time for me in the gym. I mean, I chase different goals. I always like having a goal, and it's very, very hard when you've been training for as long as I've been training to make progress. So, like, to not have peaked. So, I mean, that is something that's definitely challenging. Like, how much stronger am I going to get? You know, like I said, I'm 47 years old, approaching 50. You know, I was probably at my strength peak, like when we talk about powerlifting and stuff, maybe somewhere between 35 and 40. So more than anything else, for me, the gym is about quality time, enjoying the experience, working hard. And what's been amazing is my husband has become my training partner, and I love having somebody in there with me. And one of our dogs passed away earlier this year, but the dogs are in the gym with us. So the gym is just, it's about having a good time.
Yeah. What is his name?
So that's Lucy. So we lost she was a 10-year-old bulldog, and a friend of mine that is a local artist painted her for us kind of as a memorial and as a Christmas gift. So Lucy used to join us in the gym. She was the mascot, and she was also the mascot of the gym that I owned. And the other dog in the gym is Hank, and Hank is he is part husky and part lab, and he's become a pretty good gym dog.
That's nice. Here's a video. This is from her YouTube channel with her and Scott talking.
So it may have not been as perfect and as clean as what we would have had at home, but it beats a fast food drive-thru.
Absolutely.
And the other thing we did was, so during that contest prep, I weighed daily. I'm not normally somebody that weighs myself daily, but it was part of the plan. We did get on the scale the morning that we left, and I was getting a relatively daily body weight, and we got on the scale and we returned. And yes, I put on weight. I mean, I had not eaten that way. Plus travel, fluids were different, types of foods, was less fiber in our diet.
The workouts were different.
Yeah, there was way more sugar, there was more desserts, there were more alcohols. So I left North Carolina that Tuesday morning of Thanksgiving week at 129 pounds. And when I returned Sunday night, did not weigh, but Monday morning, I was 135 pounds. And that upset me. I mean, I was prepared for that, and that upset me. And my rational brain knew that I had not put on 6 pounds of body fat in those 6 days.
Right.
And wraps with lots of.
Yeah. And like I said, you did the Being Weeder Natural show.
Yeah.
And what's that supposed to like? Because and when did you decide to switch to natural bodybuilding?
So I have been out of my bodybuilding has changed a lot. And I felt that I no longer, as a natural competitor, could compete in regular no holds barred pro competition. I think when I got into women's physique in 2014, I think the look of the athlete, the conditioning of the athlete, the size of the athlete has changed dramatically. So at the inception of women's physique, I was able to hold my own as a natural competitor. But in today's era, I'm no longer competitive. So I actually, when I saw that they introduced the Ben Weider Naturals, I was super excited about the opportunity as an IFBB pro to compete someplace with a more level playing field. So that's how I'm like, wow, I suddenly get this opportunity to do something. So it was super exciting to me. And if I'm being honest, it was the creation of that show that made me interested in bodybuilding. Like I said, bodybuilding changes with time, and the era has changed. And again, I'm not competitive in today's day and age of what they're looking for. So that's what got me to come back, was that they had this show.
Well, this is the show. This is the second year of the show. I know Andrea Alfonso, who also took second at the show. She
Yes.
she won it last year, which got her first Olympic qualification. I just interviewed Jessica Zaire, who won in women's physique just a couple months ago, and also I know Samantha Emery was going to make the show, but circumstances happened and she couldn't compete.
Yep.
So and it's I think that's what I think NPC IFB is trying to go that route. It's doing bit by bit because as bodybuilding is a very extreme and very influential sport. As I saw recently, as we all know, the new fit model division is coming in because the fact is the bikini women are looking even more jacked than the women bodybuilders from, like, say, the 80s. They even look bigger than and more, developed than, I would say Paula Dunlap or Angela Langer or even Corey Everson.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're working out, what's your routine like during the day? So what's your routine like during the week?
My training routine or my whole daily life routine? My training routine?
Yeah, everything you say.
Okay. So I trained like a bodybuilder for this competition for the first time ever. And when I say train like a bodybuilder, I mean doing body part training. So even in my prior years competing, my training was always training more like a power and strength athlete. So when I used to get on stage as a bodybuilder in the 2014 to 2017 era, I was primarily squatting, benching, pressing, deadlifting, snatching, clean and jerk, strongman implements, and as you see, lots and lots of gymnastics and calisthenics. So that has always been the backbone of my training. And I decided to do things a little bit different this time. I decided that I was going to have full respect for the discipline of bodybuilding. And I did spend 6 months doing body part training, bodybuilder training. And part of the reason for that was not just out of respect for the discipline, but as I've gotten older, my body does not handle like heavy deadlifting, heavy snatches or something. And the risk of injury of that type of stuff, I don't recover the same way. So bodybuilding, I was able to better recover from, and especially while being in a deficit. So I could train heavy barbells and do those kinds of things when I have adequate calories, but to know that I was going to be going into a caloric deficit for that period of time, for me, the smarter move was to train like a bodybuilder and for once, respect all of it. I don't believe that I was ever the bodybuilder that I could have been because I believe my ego got in the way. And what I mean by that is that I believe I would have done better, placed better if I had respected what bodybuilding was. Most bodybuilders, very interestingly, this is a very interesting story. Many years ago, I was at the Arnold in 2014, and I had never competed yet in bodybuilding, and I was actually there for powerlifting. And Dan Ray photographed me, and he was taking pictures of me. And Iris Kyle came in, and Charles Glass came in, and they were kind of watching me. And Dan Ray said, "I want you to do your arm workout." And I said, "I don't do arms." And he said, "What do you mean you don't do arms?" And Charles Glass is there like shaking his head. It was like the craziest kind of scenario. And he's like, "Just do some arms. I'm gonna take some pictures." And I was like, "I don't do arms. I'm not gonna do something I don't do." And he's like, "Well, what do you do for arms?" I'm like, "I do pull-ups, I do gymnastics, I do calisthenics." And he's like, "You might not want to tell anybody that." And we were just kind of joking around, but I did not train like a bodybuilder. And I did learn, going through the process of prepping for this last show that like you training like a bodybuilder produces and can produce a different look than training like a power lifter or training like whatever other sport. And I never gave that the kind of the credit for what it was or understood to apply. I would never go to a powerlifting competition not having done squats, deadlift, and bench press. That I like, why would I think I would do well at that? And I used to believe that I would do well in bodybuilding just if I trained hard and got lean enough. And like I said, I've come to respect that to be better at it, there's an amount of respecting the entire discipline of it, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand everybody has different things that help in this process. You know, you like I said, one thing most people, especially when you're a bodybuilder, you want to see everybody wants to see arms, they want to see the guns, they want to see the biceps.
Yeah.
And if you say you don't train arms, you like you do pull-ups, other stuff. But the thing is, to be a bodybuilder, you have to be complete. You know, you have to work on everything from
Yeah.
from your legs, your arms, to the back. Like most definitely, when I talk to certain ladies that tell me they really have to work on their strength as much as their weakness.
And
Like when you did the Ben Weeder,
mhm.
go ahead.
Yep.
Somebody say. Yeah. When you did the Ben Weeder, what was critique from the judges? What did they tell you?
So I know my weaknesses. I did not ask for the judges' feedback, and I know how crazy that sounds. I wanted it to be, I went there for me, again, to prove that I could be whole of heart, mind, spirit, and do it in a healthy way. I know for me what is lacking. Obviously, my lower body development. And for me, being a gymnast, which is, I mean, if you look at a gymnast, they have very developed upper bodies. And again, I have pursued like calisthenic records and stuff, push up records, pull up records. Like so much of my training in my life as a CrossFitter is so upper body focused and stuff that my legs, to get them to catch up to the upper body training. That's what I said in terms of training like a bodybuilder, having years ago, if I had the discipline, to attack my lower body the way, but that stuff wasn't, say, fun for me. Or the other thing is, I've always trained in gyms that don't have machines. So, like I say, I primarily do barbell stuff, and there's some amount to be a fully developed bodybuilder that sometimes you need to use different implements. Sometimes you need to use lighter weights. Sometimes you need to kind of chase your weaknesses. So that answer to your question is I did not ask for the judges' feedback. But clearly an area of development for me. Obviously, my glutes and stuff could way come up, and my lower body definitely does not match my upper body in muscle maturity and density and size. So I'm pretty aware.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Not everybody. I think I've heard maybe a handful of competitors say they don't ask the feedback from the judges. More often do because they want to get that information to see. Because sometimes they see things that you may not have seen, and you already know your weaknesses. Like you really must feel like you need to work more on your upper body and bring your legs up. I mean, I know most definitely most bodybuilders hate leg day. I mean, every conversation I have with say, I ask them, "What's your favorite workout?" I say, "I like to do my back. I like to do my shoulders. I like to do my chest." And then, "What's your least favorite?" I go, leg day. I mean, I think I have had maybe 6 women on here that told me that they love leg day, and I tell them, "You're a mutant. Something wrong with you. No one likes leg day." But it's one of the things you have to work on. Here we got here from a man. I'm not going to say his name because it's kind of he's from Greece. I don't want to mess up. So I'm gonna call him KD. Shout out to KD coming through, and he says this coming up. In a second, slow here today. Wait a minute. What's going on? Uh, my computer's acting a little slow. Might be something going on with my Wi-Fi. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Where you go? I saw you. There you go. He says, "Regards from Greece to you all." I'm not gonna say the name where Greece is. I don't want to mess it up. And also he says, this he says, shout to him again. He says, where is it? My computer. Wait, there we go. There we go. We should have it. Says, "Gllian, wish see you in Greece soon." Maybe she might go. You never know. I think
I'd love
I
to.
interviewed a young lady. She's from Cyprus. And that's like, yeah. I interviewed a young lady a while back. She's got a pro card at the Romanian Muscle Fest in figure, and she's from Cyprus, and that's like right there outside of Greece. Also, we got here from a man, KL the Wanderer. Shout out to KL. He's coming through. He says this. He says, "Good afternoon. Good afternoon, brother. Thank you." And also, this is Lawrence Perkins. Hadn't seen him for a while. Shout out to my man Lawrence. He says, this he says, which way goes this? My computer's acting up. Ugh, I can tell it's. Eh, I need to get a new computer. Like I say, if it'll pop up eventually. I don't know why it's doing this. But anyway, get back to you again. So now, like I said, oh, there he goes. He says, "Good afternoon, Jillian, George, and everyone in the chat. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that." So now you get this out of you that you came back, you did a show.
Yeah.
What's the plan now for 2025?
I don't know if I'll compete again. I have interests in other aspects of the industry. So the thing I am, I love being an athlete and I love competing. But what I love more than that, honestly, is helping people and educating people. And I see my role going forward. So I'm already a coach. I am a full-time strength and conditioning coach, a nutritionist, and prep coach. But um, I would like to do more of that. And I see my role in the industry, especially with the rolling out of all of the natural shows, a little bit more involvement in that and in contest prep and managing the experience for other competitors. So there's so many prep coaches that are out there, but I think helping people sort through, it's very, very hard even to choose a coach. And I think one of the things that's lacking in the industry is the experience of contest prep. Like, so there's something that I have sort of started working on, which is basically a white glove contest prep service, which handles all aspects of competitors prep, everything from managing tickets and hotels to the family members, making sure they have all their appointments, making sure there's somebody with them backstage. Because there's something that always breaks my heart is I will see competitors that are there alone, often from other countries, sometimes don't speak the language. And it's such an emotional experience when you're at a contest, and especially, placings and other stuff. And you see people sometimes that are there all alone. I never want a competitor to be all alone. And the other thing is, bodybuilding is such a solitary endeavor that sometimes people shut out their friends and family and they don't really know what's going on along the way. And I would love to provide some level of service, not only to the competitor, but to their loved ones and family members. I do that in my nutrition counseling. I don't just speak to the client. I will speak to the client and their family, because they're going to be in there supporting them in the kitchen, maybe not encouraging them to eat the junk food or to understand it. So what I am doing in terms of the industry is getting a little bit more involved in that. And, I'll be taking competitors to the upcoming shows. Again, I'm not ruling out that I will compete again. It's not there right now for it. I don't have a specific show in mind. And again, right now for me, it's about, helping other people get out there. I love also the idea of first time competitors. And just them doing it in a healthy and wholesome way.
Yeah, I think that's good that you're helping out people who are just coming in here, especially new to the sport. I think
Yeah.
that we need more people to reach out to these new competitors and maybe with open hands, with open arms. Some people, they can be a little bit, it is a selfish sport, bodybuilding, because
Yeah.
from like the everyday person, when you think about bodybuilding, it's nothing but steroids and you got to get big and Arnold and Arnold. You can be like Arnold, but
Yes.
here is that's just not even the big aspect of it. One thing is you have to be consistent, you have to follow a diet, you have to be able to work out and train. And it's not for everybody. You have to be really passionate about it, because again, for y'all ladies, it's more of a expense than anything, because not just you got to pay your training, your food, your diet, and the cost of traveling, this and that. Then also when you go to the shows, your tanning, your hair, your makeup, your suits right there. I mean, for the guys, all they got to do is wear a pair of banana hammocks and board shorts. That's it. But for you ladies, there's so much, and like I said, you don't get much out of it like you do if you were doing like a mainstream sport. If you played
Right.
any like football or basketball, or baseball, or even if you like I used to do some great interviews with ladies in mixed martial arts and boxing. And those women still make a little more because of the fact that they're in a sport where it's more recognized.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding has changed over time. Here we got a comment. This is from my man Shot from AL. He says this. He says, your physique is nice for natural bodybuilding. Thank you, brother. And he says this. He saw earlier. He says, yeah, that's cool. You're doing the handstand, also controlling your body to slowly go down. Also, this is from my man, Warriors. Agility is a natural, so traditional, like the that concept. Yeah, and also, this is from Warriors. Says, what does Gllian think of the women's physique athletes currently in terms of their look, or do you approve of it? Is it too extreme, or is it appealing? So, as we talk about the old school athletes like Rich McLeod, Corey Houston, do you follow any competitors? Anybody you really follow that you kind of like, like you're on a fence on them, or you really think, wow, they're just astonishing, amazing.
So my favorite athlete right now is Sharonica Henton, and we came up kind of at the same time. But I think she is, to me, the epitome and beautiful for women's physique. And I don't judge. Like, I understand how the division has gotten to be what it is, just in terms of everybody raising the bar for competition. And I find, all different physiques visually appealing, whether it's, the current look of the Miss Olympia, Sarah, or the previous looks. Like, my favorite, I love Juliana Malincarne from, I guess she was the second women's physique Olympia. I love Dana Lynn Bailey's physique. I think beautiful physiques and the appeal do come in all shapes and sizes. What is current of today in women's physique is too extreme for me. So I'm like, very strong, kind of like my personal boundaries of what I am willing to do and not willing to do. And I cannot achieve the look that wins in today's women's physique and stay true to my beliefs. So, like, for me, I realize I can't compete in it. It does not mean that I don't have the greatest appreciation. I prefer bodybuilding of another era. I prefer golden era bodybuilding. I prefer some of the names we talked about. To me, Linda Murray is the most classic, beautiful, Miss Olympia of all time. Andrea Shaw, I love her look too. But I like, in terms of women's physique, I do believe that it has gotten like beyond where. So to me, in terms of conditioning, the thing that I struggle with is how the rules are written is not how they're judged. And I know there's definitely a lot of talk about it. The way the rules are written in terms of what should be displayed in women's physique, it says that you should not be, striated, there shouldn't be, or hard or grainy or any of these things. And that's not the way it's judged. So that's where I struggle. It's not what the competitors are bringing to the stage. I struggle with the fact that the written standard is different than the judged standard. But I think to bodybuilding about me is I want the outside of what I look like to be a representation and manifestation of what's on the inside. So I want to be healthy looking, but also healthy on the inside. And I believe anything taken to the extreme is no longer healthy. So I want to be able to look great and be able to back it up. I want my health markers to be great, my blood values to be great. I want to be physically strong. I want to be capable. I want to be able to perform well. That also means I'm never going to be the most conditioned athlete out there, because we know, especially women at very low body fat, that can be extremely unhealthy. So to me, bodybuilding is about the insides and the outside.
Yeah, especially like I said again, women are built different than men. Men, we are is I often say this, our purpose is to breed, battle, and die. That's it. And and when we naturally are like, I'm a big dude, but still, I mean, while I was lifting weights in high school, I was like, by the time I was 16, I was already doing 350 on the bench press. And we're just built different than women. But then that thing is, people always go about how women with muscle is kind of like it's a offense to them. Like they feel like, why you have these muscles? Why are you doing this? Like, and especially people don't understand it. That's why it's so difficult to people accept the idea that you're an athlete, you train, you work out hard. Even like I said, you were doing CrossFit and powerlifting. Even that, they would feel like, okay, you're getting too muscly. And she mentioned again, my person I love Andrea. Andrea is just so beautiful. I mean, she's just amazing. She just brings another level. and the Judy McCartneys and the Shamonica Hintons. I feel like, it's we talked about this before. We do a podcast every Monday. How the standard has changed, and I think it happened when Sarah became champion over Shanique Grant. I think Shanique had the more feminine look, but then they switched over to Sarah, and she has evolved. She's just another level. And if that's the problem, then the judges should stick to the criteria that was set when the division was started. But it just, I don't know. It's just, like I said, I'm just an outsider looking in. Here we got a comment, and this is from shout outs to my man Panther7. Shout out to Panther7 coming through, brother. Thank you. He says, good afternoon, brother George and beautiful Gllian in chat. Thank you, brother. What we do also is, like I said, she is a coach and a trainer. And I pulled this up. This is from my YouTube channel. So if you want to follow her, go to her YouTube channel. It's in the description of the live stream. It's a little get together she had. She was talking. We're not gonna play it too much long, but we're gonna re-listen to it. And if you're someone interested and maybe you need to work on some things, or maybe interested in maybe you're as a coach or helping instructions, reach out to Gllian. So here we go. There we go.
So right now I am just under 6 weeks away from competing in a bodybuilding competition, and I am on a very strict diet, which you will come to understand some of the challenges of that, including the position that I am in right now. So I'm actually going to start by asking a few questions to get a gauge of who I have in the room. Show of hands. How many of you are actively trying to change your body composition? So what I mean by that, changing body composition, and let's not see it in terms of gaining weight, losing weight. How many of you are trying to either put on muscle or lose body fat, or some magical combination of both? Okay. How many of you feel like you're doing a really good job of that right now? Okay. So that is really why we are here today. I am here to tell you that there is no one way. There is no best way of doing things. There is no best diet. What we are going to find out today is what is best for you and works for you at that time in your life. And I'm going to show you guys how to get there. So when we think of diet, most everybody thinks of something extremely restrictive, right? What do we think of when we think of diet? What do we think of?
No salad dressing.
No salad dressing. What else? What do you think of when you think of diet? No carbs. So we also generally think of weight loss. How many of you, when you think of a diet, think of very restrictive, very low calorie, temporary, and weight loss? That is generally what we think of. It doesn't have to be that way. Is anybody in here actively trying to gain weight? Okay, so that is awesome, and we are going to address both sides of that today. So
That's great insight, because I think everybody has different insight, especially when they're trying to lose weight and get healthy, or just to gain muscle. And as you know, you're a coach and a trainer. Do you have your own coach, or you do your own coach and training?
So sometimes both. So I did use a coach for this past contest prep. Other than that, I typically coach myself most of the time, but I do feel like it's important from time to time to be on the other side of things when you are always in charge, and also to have somebody look at you from the outside. When you're in something, you get tunnel vision, and it's very, very helpful, even if it's what you do. I find that even though I have done this my whole life, if I could say if I had a calling, I have known that I wanted to coach people maybe since I was 4 or 5 years old. The very first time I was interviewed for a school newspaper, the reporter asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, an exercise physiologist. And I was in grade school. He's like, can you spell it? And but I have always known. I started training friends when I was about 7 years old. So I knew as a gymnast that you needed to be strong, that you needed to be conditioned in order to get better. And my friend Kim, who is a very close friend of mine, was a training partner, and I used to train her. And I had a couple of other friends that I trained at home. So this has been, I feel like a calling. Like I've always been fortunate to know this is what I want to do. But yes, I am a trainer and a coach, and I do believe that it is important sometimes, even though it's what I do, to seek some coaching from the outside, whether it's to learn something new, a new discipline, or just to have another set of eyes on you.
Yeah, that's good because you know what? I think it's good to get that instead of getting the other set of eyes because
Yeah.
something you might not see, and then you might say, "I'm doing good," but then you know you get another set, somebody else who has maybe a better education, maybe more understanding of the body. They might say, "Okay, we might need to work on this, and we might need to work on that," and pull everything together, and especially talk about diet, that is the important part of that. Like I know after your last show, this is something the other guy wants to ask me. He says, "Tell us, share it with us, Gllian. Where's that thing that was calling you? Because I know you're on diet, you're prepping, and sometimes you have desires. And sometimes those things that make you stranger can make you stronger." So, what was that thing you got? Especially you've been dieting, you're training, you and Scott can go out and have a good time and eat. What was that? What was that thing that you often love to get?
A good bottle of red wine, a big fatty steak, and a chocolate dessert. So I would definitely say it was, I'm just going to be very, very honest here. Like a lot of other people, we took to having happy hour during COVID, and some small amount of alcohol had kind of crept into daily activity for us. Like we would have a drink or two, a glass of wine or something most evenings. And I gave up alcohol, we know I love it and stuff, but it's absolutely a poison. And during the contest prep, I knew that was not something that had any kind of place on it. And getting away for these past years from professional athletics and competing, it's like, oh, it's okay if I have a glass of wine in the evening. I'm not competing anymore. So I can tell you that I was very, very much looking forward to a glass of wine.
I know everybody has their favorites: steak, beef, alcohol. I know some ladies that like to get a little taste of the grape. Some don't drink the grape; they like to drink that Jose Cuervo. Get like, oof, yeah, yeah. But everybody has the things that you like the most. Here we got here from Man Warrior. Shout out to Man Warrior says those nagging, ignorant people that think women with muscle is gross or repulsive. I seriously need to have a divine intervention with these folks. I'm telling you, hey, these guys, they love you, ladies. And also get these anti-muscle women naysayers to reconsider their whatever he says, perceived notions, narrowly minded attitudes, and convince them that these women are beautiful, they're athletic, and they are strong women. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. Also, it's from KL. He says, "You look like you could be a action hero with those tank tops and jeans." And also, this is what a man says, "Would you do OCB show or some other organizations or natural bodybuilding?" OCB, that's the organization of I think bodybuilding organizations, been around, but you are IFB Pro. And I know I've interviewed some OCB competitors who also are interested in switching over to the IFB because the Pittsburgh Pro coming up is going to be a big extravaganza, and they added a natural pro qualifier this year. So would you ever want to feel like you said, you're not focused on competing, right now, but would you ever think about going to another organization that fits more with your lifestyle as a bodybuilder?
So I would not rule it out. I do have some competitors that I do put in the OCB. It's very hard, having achieved IFBB pro status, to go compete in the OCB. And I don't know whether it is true or not. I have been told that if you compete outside the organization, that you lose your status. So that would be something that I would need to know. Like, what I would not want to do is give up my IFBB pro status by competing in the OCB. So it's something that has crossed my mind. I have not ruled it out, but I would need to get firm answers as to whether or not that's true. But one of the things that last comment brought up for me about muscular women, I can tell you this, having been a muscular woman my entire life, I feel that it is so much more acceptable, and we have come so far. So I've been muscular, again, as a gymnast since childhood, and I used to hide my muscle. I was interviewed when I was in high school for a newspaper. I won the United States Marine Corps National Physical Fitness Championship. And the title, which got me very upset of the article, was "Is She Human?" So if no teenage girl wants to be called that, but I wore, I worked out during the time that I was being interviewed, and I wore a very, very baggy shirt. And the very opening line in the newspaper, and this was a New York City newspaper like publication, said, "Beneath her baggy shirt are biceps bigger than most of the boys." And I was mortified. So, I came from a time that was far less culturally and socially acceptable in the 80s and 90s to be a muscular woman. And I feel like there has been a shift in time, and we are much more, I look at anything from the Williams sisters to and just embracing like larger and more muscular women throughout time now. As I could walk around today, and I'm not saying I don't deal with a lot of hate, I deal with a lot of it, but not like what I did 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And last night my husband and I were listening to like kind of some old music and classic music and talking about big band era and like when would we have wanted to live. We saw somebody wearing a hat that was kind of 40s era, and we talked about what decades would we want to live in. And I kind of talked about, we talked about the 20s or the 40s. And I also thought, I'd love to live at that time, but it was not acceptable for a woman. I mean, I have a hard time being a muscular woman in 2025. What if I was a muscular woman in 1955? So I realized that I probably could not have lived at another time and done what I've done. Not that there's not a lot of historical women of those times, but I feel like even though I still deal with a ton of adversity and negativity, that it has much improved over the 45 years that I have been training.
Well, being a black man, any period I've been in, it can't go back there because no. I'm from the South. My family are, my parents were sharecroppers, my grandparents were sharecroppers, my great grandparents were slaves. I'm telling you, those times, those periods, I don't think I want to go back there. I have no interest in going back there. I even did some sharecropping when I was younger. Not much because back then I got my first real job by the time I was 16. But yeah, I think people are a little bit more open to it because of as today it's the new year, new me attitude. And everybody's in the gym trying to work out. Most of them not gonna last for more than 2 months. They quit. But I think, it's like, I think in the 80s there was a big push for physical fitness. There was movies and, when, stuff like, remember Little Rip John had the Let's Get Physical came out.
Yeah.
Let's get physical. Because you're 47, I'm 50. I'm 3 years older than you, dear. So yeah. But yeah, I think if the people understand that, as I said again, you are a woman, you're an athlete, you like to work out, you like to train, you'll see that's good. But the others who have a problem with it, man, Buddy Mac says, boy, it don't like you, just say, fuck them. That's all I can say about that. So here we got here from my man, shout out to my man, Panthers of 7 says, Jillian, when it comes to holidays, how do you deal with the food while dieting during prep? So, just got off of Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you were, I think your show was, was the end of September. Remember September when your show was?
Mid-November. So
mid-November, yeah. So right around just before Thanksgiving, I remember interviewing one lady. She was prepping for nationals. She said she couldn't eat Thanksgiving dinner because of Thanksgiving. And and I know that was tough for you and your hubby, especially like one thing when you go to family events. Like you can't eat what everybody eats. Like like barbecues in summer, especially in the South. In the South, we go all out. That, especially in North Carolina. And you can't bring you got to bring your own food because you just can't eat everything that's there in front of you.
So I was able to be, this prep ended before Thanksgiving and Christmas time, which are certainly my favorite holidays to eat. Which I was thankful that it ended before it. I think it's very individual. If you start a prep early enough, and I think if you're timing things right, I think there's probably a place, depending on the timing of it, to enjoy some type of holiday meal. For me, a lot of the holiday meals and socializing came to managing the expectations of the people that I was sharing the holidays with. So I did this prep very different by letting everybody know, here's what you could expect of me. You know, I may not participate in these social events. If I do come, and just kind of sharing a lot more rather than kind of being the weirdo that brought my foods. I'm not going to lie, but anytime I plan to do a show, I look at and I mourn the holidays that I'm going to miss on the calendar and stuff. And is there a way to do it a little bit healthier? Is there a way, you know, maybe ask the coach, you know, do I get extra calories or can I have a meal on this day? But giving up the holidays and stuff is definitely tough. So this, I started for the November show. I started the diet in June. So what I missed was kind of like, you know, 4th of July hot dogs and stuff. So 4th of July, Labor Day weekend kind of stuff, but I did not miss like the major holidays in terms of Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I have dieted through those. So the year that I prepped for the Arnold, my diet started like 3 days before Thanksgiving. So that is that is definitely hard. So I think I'm rambling. I don't think I have a pretty firm answer. It's definitely sad to give up those things, but I think participating in them in some capacity and planning for them so that there's no absolutes in this, you know, in terms of what a contest diet is or isn't. It looks different for everybody. And there's no, well, you know, you can't have holiday food. Well, there are some competitors that can and go right back on it the next meal. And for some people, that's not good for them either physically or psychologically. So I think every competitor is different.
Yeah, food is both a weapon and a tool for a bodybuilder. How you grow, how you develop. Sometimes, you have your favorites. I think a lot of us love carbs, but you have to cut that out because you don't need that because it causes you to swell a little more. You cut out sugar because it's both. It's sugar. Like I know I bought a box of donuts yesterday because I went out shopping. I got a couple more left in the kitchen. It's like crack to me. So it's so tempting you know to just deny yourself those things you want. But you have a goal and you want to get it, especially you were doing the Arnold that year, and your goal was to compete there, and you got 6th place.
Yeah.
That means that you made that sacrifice. That's one thing about it. There's a lot of sacrifice to this. Here we got a comment from my man, shout my man, K. Ellie says, I agree with you, all being healthy internally and externally. Also, he says, yeah, I heard that too about the losing your IFBB status. Yeah, that's true. That's what I heard about some people. I think even you take a picture with someplace and you're kind of funny. I don't know. And also he says this is, I take you could do muscle ups. How many?
So I, if you could find it on the internet, actually many years ago, I can do muscle ups. I had done 100 for something called Operation Pull for Hope. So many years ago, during the wars, I was very involved with Hope for the Warriors, a nonprofit that serves kind of injured veterans and helps families of those, killed in action. And I did a fundraiser, went through CrossFit, and like I said, it was called Pull for Hope, but I did 100 muscle ups to raise money. This was through CrossFit back in 2009. But that's something for me that, again, that skill, very, very different to learn it as an adult, and people are challenged by it. But I started those kinds of skills as a child. So it's a whole lot easier when you start gymnastics type skills as a child.
Yeah, I can't remember last time I did a cartwheel. I think that's been like maybe 40 years ago. I would do them now. I'm gonna break myself. But yeah, everybody has the things that they like about this sport. And being an athlete, doing what you have done over the years, I really respect that because I want to do these interviews and reach out to you ladies. I learn more and more. One of my crimes, I'm always gonna admit my crime. I'm a muscle personnel. I used to by the time my brother used to get the muscle mags. And I used to love looking through. It's like Arnold and Lee Haney, those guys. And then y'all ladies, y'all excite me, especially when I get to my pubescent age. But doing this content and talking to you ladies, I learned some stuff. What it takes to be not just an athlete, but a woman in the sport, and to find your place and to grow and develop. And as I said again, the sport has changed over times.
Yeah.
From Rick McLeish, to Corey Everson, to Linda Murray, to Iris, to Andrea, to Sarah Vilgas and them. I mean, I'm more a fan of women's bodybuilding, but I've been expanding to other divisions, like many ladies in figure and wellness and bikini, and it's a sport that you really have to understand the time you put in, the sacrifice you make, and and also it's if it's fulfilling for you as an
Yep.
athlete, that's the thing is you have to say you just don't do this because hey, I'm gonna make a lot of money. You don't make much. You'd be lucky if you can break even sometimes. You're more time going in the hole than you are coming up with daisies.
No, it has to be for you. And another beautiful thing about this sport is you can do it as you age. And it's something that you can continue. Not every sport is like that, right? I mean, I love gymnastics and stuff, but I can't do the gymnastics now at 47 than I could at 7 or at 17. And bodybuilding, it's almost the wiser you are, the more you learn kind of to manage your own ego, the more you learn patience and those virtues, essentially the better you become at it. So for me, one of the other appeals about going back to bodybuilding later on was that in some ways I could be better at it. Whereas most other sport, there's a reason why football players are not 60 or other athletes. And bodybuilding, I think, is one of the wonderful things that you could continue to get better through time, and you could always make improvements. You could always do something, you could always work on things and fine tune it. It never ends. You never reach a pinnacle with it. Like there's always something left with it. So that is another appealing thing about bodybuilding to me.
Yeah, because in a few months it's going to be the Masters Olympia. As competitors over 40, there's more master shows. Not as popular per se, but you're seeing I've interviewed ladies as old as 60. Some ladies as young as in their just like we get interview a young lady who's 21 years old. She's been an athlete playing softball, other sports. It's just you find something about the sport that really helps you. Especially muscle does help your body. I know most people we say like if you train a little muscle, I'm gonna be too muscular. This is the thing like this. You're not gonna be Ronnie Coleman. You're not gonna be Jay Cutler. Hell, you're not gonna be Andrea Shaw. What it does, it helps you, especially when you get older. And I can tell you the truth. I got 2 bad knees like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I got issues with my shoulders. I have a pacemaker. But when I made a decision, because I was almost 500 pounds. And after my mom passed, and I didn't have her take care of more, so now it's time to take care of me. And I made some changes. Like I said, I'm not perfect. Like I said, I ate, almost half a pack of donuts, but I'm still trying to do the smart things. Like I went out this afternoon, I went out for a walk, and those little things help, along the way. I mean, whatever helps you in this process, especially health-wise and for betterment for your life, just bit by a little bit.
I agree. I think muscle and strength training is your best insurance policy. It's the fountain of youth. I was actually talking to my husband about that, just getting out of the car a few hours ago. And it is really what you can do for yourself about how healthy it is to have muscle, whether it's injury prevention, just watching, stopping slips, trips, and falls as you age. And it is just... there's nothing else you can do for yourself and stuff in terms of health, in terms of fitness, in terms of mood, longevity, other stuff, in my opinion, other than connecting with exercise, specifically strength training.
Mm-hmm. We have this one more question from my man, Patton 7, and we go make it the last one. It says, was there ever a time where you thought about trying out for CrossFit Games? Judging off of how you train, I think you have what it takes. So, Lexi, you did CrossFit. Yeah, you ever thought about it?
I came in 3rd place in the 2008 CrossFit Games. So my transition into powerlifting, obviously Olympic lifting, other stuff. So I was an elite level CrossFitter at the inception of CrossFit. So yes, I competed and came in 3rd in the 2008 CrossFit Games. I competed again in the 2009 CrossFit Games. I did not do as well. There were eliminations that year, and I was eliminated on the first day of competition. But there was a time, if you go back and historically look at CrossFit, that I was actually favored to win the 2009 CrossFit Games. There were some events in that. There was sledgehammer. There were some odd events that year that I did not do all of that. That I did not do all that well in. But yes, I was a very high level CrossFitter in the very early days of CrossFit.
Yeah, because I know some ladies who have one time were either in bodybuilding but transitioned over to CrossFit. I know some ladies who actually were CrossFitters and transitioned over to bodybuilding. And some of those ladies in CrossFit, they have some of their sex just need to tighten up, maybe bring conditioning, but they do have some strong sets like women's bodybuilding. So, folks, we do enjoy talking with the lovely Mrs. Ward. We'd like to thank her for her time, but also, this is a question I often ask ladies. Are you sponsored by anybody, or you just everything's on your own?
I just do things on my own. But I am writing a book, and people could, of course, they could buy my book, but I will fill you in as that I am right now in the middle of Lessons from the Girl Who Thought She Could Fly. It is an inspirational memoir, and I hope to have that released by the end of 2025.
That's good. I mean, I know quite a few ladies who have become ready that books help put out the information that people need to understand, and also tell a story about yourself. You know, I know there'll be some guys saying, "Hey, Gllian, you're writing a book, so if I get say no, this is guys, stop that. I see your hands. I know what you're thinking about. You sick freak. This is what you says." Mrs. Ward, you have a great story about what you went through, your history, and we would love to publish more of your works. And also, we would like to sponsor you if you still are planning on any time. Decided to go back and competing one more time in bodybuilding. So, ma'am, if you're ever interested and you want to be part of our company, we'll be happy to have you as a brand ambassador. So, if this is something that interests you, just let us know when we'll hammer all the deals.
I appreciate that very much.
Well, ma'am, you are welcome. So, before I let you go, what would you want out of this whole thing as a bodybuilder for yourself in your life?
What do I want to come from bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, personal fulfillment. Anytime you work hard to achieve a goal, you know, for me, competing recently and testing myself that, like, can I still do this? Do I have it? And I think with sacrifice, there definitely comes joy, but in terms of the greater thing to come out of it for me at this point, like I said, it is less about what I achieve in bodybuilding and more about making that experience absolutely exceptional for somebody else. Making it something that they fall in love with. And in a way, we know this industry has a lot of very dark sides to it. You know, anything from the hate somebody encounters in the street to, you know, we know what's, you know, behind some dark curtains in bodybuilding. Is I would like to be able to provide to people getting into the sport. I'd like them to know what it's really about. I'd like, as crazy as this sounds, to be able to protect them in some way, or at least inform them and stuff, because there's a lot of people that come into it very naive and don't really realize some of the trappings and other stuff. So more than anything else, what I would like to get out of bodybuilding is to continue to inspire and continue to educate, and to know that I am part of the history and the legacy, and to keep seeing people that come out there and do it even better. Nothing to me makes me happier than seeing somebody that comes after me in time and do it even better than I had done it before. I would like to see it continue to evolve, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's respectful. You know, I know most people don't understand, especially for us who go to the shows. We see you on stage. When you're up there, you're ripped, you're shredded, you're vascular, you're tan, but don't understand what got you there. The diet, the training. Sometimes you're dehydrated. Sometimes you're hungry. Sometimes you're tired. You know, we see the bright lights and the glitter of everything else from the outside, but don't understand how you get to that process. Because, you know, one thing I often people tell me says, "Oh, you got to trust the process." But no, once you understand it, then you can fully trust it. You just don't put yourself in with all your faith. But sometimes you might get disappointed. And, you know, yes, you have the extreme haters and you have the extreme lovers. You know, the guys like, you know, we get a little excited about y'all ladies. Because I remember years ago when a guy told me to say, like, I was on this message board, said, like, your kid just new to you. Say, I'm a family. So yeah. So you know what this old saying? What's the saying? Say, when your legs rock hard, we're rock hard. But we really respect who you are as a competitor, the work you put in, the time you put in, sacrifice you have to make. I know there's times I know you, Scott, especially during this prep. I know you, Scott, would like to do more, go out, have a good time. He's your man, but sometimes you're like, baby, I can't do it. I gotta rest, I gotta sleep, I gotta get up in the morning. And even now, there's so many things that it takes to be an athlete in sport. And you are focused on things that are important to you. That's good. Like I said, the sport's always gonna be here. When you're ready, when you feel like you want to take the time and do another show, it's here. It's not going to time soon. If not, you have your life, you got your things you're doing. You're doing good works.
So I think you said a point about trusting the process. I think what bodybuilding, the biggest lesson it teaches is not just to trust the process, but learning to trust yourself. And there is nothing in going through it and having trust and confidence. It is such a wonderful builder of self-confidence and learning to become an expert in yourself. And I think over time, as I have evolved in this sport, there becomes this kind of learning to trust yourself and just kind of building that, like, kind of who you are. It does so much. Like I said, in terms of self-confidence, that to me, that's kind of what it's about, is that, again, trusting the process, trusting yourself, not second guessing everything. And for me, getting away, when I say trusting myself, was to stop looking at what I thought others wanted me to be, to stop saying, well, this judge wants me harder and this one wants me this, and to trust myself and say, I know what is best for me and what I should be doing kind of to bring to the stage. I'm rambling again, so I'm going to stop there.
That's all right. I ramble too. When you talk about something, sometimes you just like, hey, wait a minute. I'm talking about this and that. It don't take much. But we do appreciate your time, ma'am. You give us. It's like I said, every time you interview, I always get to learn more, especially about you ladies. Someone like you who's been in the game like you have been in some of the top levels of this sport. And, like I said, you're taking another direction with your life. Respect for that. So you have anybody you want to shout out before we go?
I have, I think, a few friends and family that are probably watching. If they're not watching right now, they will be watching from the link that we put up. But I do want to thank my husband, Scott Conway, because I know without him, I wouldn't have come back. And I came back in such a different way. And this was the most fulfilling. The last contest prep that I did was probably one of the most fulfilling experiences I have ever had. And he was right there by my side. I mean, we ate every meal together. We did every training session together. And every thought in my head, I was able to express to him. So I definitely want to thank him above all else. And I want to thank anybody that is sitting and listening to this and watching this. I want to thank you for having me on. But I appreciate all of the support. And I appreciate anybody that sat through an hour and 20 minutes of me rambling.
It's that they used to. I sit here and ramble for an hour and 20 minutes too. They used to me. It's nothing new to them. If they got a problem, you can go. Because I built this shit. Me. I break. So you got a problem, you can go somewhere else. But I do appreciate when I get to talk to you ladies and get to hear what got you to this sport and what keeps your passion for this sport. Because like I said again, you have to have a passion for it. It's not easy. Like the great Ronnie Coleman says, everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but no one want to lift this heavy ass weight. But you have to have that passion. You have to have that love. Because there's days where I know you'd rather be spending time with Scotty and just being with him, but because you have goals and you have determination. If it's not doing this, it's doing that, and that's the one thing that keeps some people here. Not everybody has that. More people, they quit when it gets hard. But to quote the great Rocky Balboa, it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can take the hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning's done. And Scott, that's a good man. That's your Adrian. You're the Rocky. She's your Adrian. You're Adrian. I'm a clown. We got here from a man, Pastor Seven says, I love your ramblings, Gllian. I just subscribed to your channel. Thank you, brother. That helps. Thank you. Most of these ladies on YouTube need more subscribers. Help the algorithms, help me grow, because I know YouTube is not a fan of women's muscle. Because I've just got over 2,000 in my channel. It's been around about 5 or 6 years. But hey, I do this because I love talking to you ladies. I love the sport. I love a fan of y'all. It may not be the 80s, but I'm down with the ladies. And oh yeah, he has to say something. He wants to say this. Gllian, I want to tell you something. You are beautiful. I have to see somebody about him. I know he's just. But anyway, we'd like to thank the lovely Mrs. Gllian Ward for coming through, taking time talking with us. It's great to talk to somebody in my own backyard in North Carolina. It's a great opportunity for me because doing this, I've met some ladies who are here in North Carolina that are bodybuilders. I met some ladies who I become friends with, and in person on social media. I mean, I love to meet some more of y'all in the future because I'm thinking about going to a show this year. My niece, she lives in Atlanta. I'm thinking about going to Atlanta Pro. I hope circumstances helped and happened that I can afford to go, but I want to do that because my last time I went with Savannah, that was like almost 3 years ago. But thank you for the time, ma'am. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you. Tell your husband you got good man. You got good man. Good man.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome, man. So, folks, I'd like to shout out man Ballsy coming through, my brother KL the Wonder, my man Panther 7, my man Lawrence Perkins, my man Warrior 2000. Anybody who watched this feed, subscribe, follow us on social media, support these lovely ladies in the sport of bodybuilding. Any competitor, man or woman, it's a tough sport. Not everybody can do what these people do, but if you're determined to do it, do it. Understand the sacrifice of time you put in this. So I hope y'all enjoy. As you know, we're into just a week as the new year, and hope we have many more better days. So this is your man, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Like, subscribe. God, good afternoon, good night, good luck, and Happy New Year.